Hi everyone, welcome to our webinar on a comprehensive guide to Snapchat from AR to commerce. We have a great broadcast for you all today, but before we get started, let's go ahead and jump into a few logistics. So the session recording and slides will be sent out by end of day to your inbox, so feel free to share with your colleagues or go back and watch. And if you log off at any time within the next hour, you can use the same link that we shared in your inbox and the one that is in your calendar hold. You can also download some of Tenuity's recently released reports in the panel to the right of your screen that says handouts. And also in the chat section, feel free to let us know where you are tuning in from. You can plug that in there. You can also plug in questions in the chat and we will aim to answer those at the end during our live Q&A. And then we have a few poll questions, so make sure to join in via the poll tab that is on the right-hand side of your screen. And then I'll go ahead and introduce myself. My name is Catherine Bishop, Marketing Coordinator at Tenuity, and I'll be hosting the webinar today. So a little bit about Tenuity. We have mastered the media that matters most. We are the largest independent performance marketing firm across streaming TV and the triopoly of Google, Facebook, and Amazon. We understand that success requires both strategy and channel specialization, and that approach wins us awards and recognition across the country, such as the American Business Stevie Awards and the Shorty Awards. And it also allows us to help grow some of those amazing clients that you see right here. So we have a ton of valuable insights to share with you today. So I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to our speakers to introduce themselves. Lauren, I'll go ahead and pass it to you.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, my name is Lauren Walden. I'm an Associate Director of Paid Social here at Tenuity. I've been in the social media marketing space for over 10 years, working with clients of all sizes and verticals on both organic and paid strategies. So it's been really exciting to see the space kind of evolve over the years to what it is today. And I'm super excited to talk about the potential of Snapchat for your social strategy today. And I'll hand it over to Nadav.
All right, thanks, Lauren. Nice to meet everyone. Thanks for having me. Nadav Geft, I'm a manager of global agency development here at Snap, leading our independent agencies. I've been here for a year and a half. I'm very much looking forward to the conversation.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. We're really excited to hear from you all today. So let's go ahead and take a look at our agenda. So our speakers are going to share everything that you need to know about Snapchat, how to fit Snapchat into your social strategy, and then best practices for activating. And then we'll have a live Q&A at the end. So make sure to plug those questions into the chat as we go. So first, before we get started, we'd love to know from our audience, how is your brain currently utilizing Snapchat? So that poll is currently live. If you toggle over from chat to polls in the top right, you can join in the poll there. So are you regularly creating and sharing engaging content on your Snapchat profile, leveraging AR lenses to create interactive and fun experiences for your audience, collaborating with influencers and creators to expand brand outreach, or you're not using it at all, but you would like to start? So let's see what those poll answers are coming in. So most people are not using it at all, but would like to start. So this is a great place for you to be, and I'll go ahead and hand it over to Nadav.
All right. So it looks, if this is for most who don't know too much and are looking to get started, I think it's a great place to start. So if you don't mind jumping in to the next slide, thank you so much. So no one influences us more than our friends and family. And Snapchat's mission is to enhance relationships between friends, family, and the world. It all begins with relationships on Snap. It is the engine that drives us. And Snap is very much the antidote to social media. So unlike other apps, it doesn't open to the feed, it opens to the camera, providing an immersive experience for self-expression, engaging with the world versus just scrolling through a feed. And it's also not filled with the vanities of public likes or even the pressures of appearing popular or perfect. And this environment of real relationships drives real influence. And that's what we see achieved through our very large and unique audience, which we'll chat through today, our diverse, immersive, full screen ad formats, and of course the proven results that follow. And if you don't mind jumping over to the next, just to reinforce what we were just speaking to, is that when looking at our audience, the number one reason people come to Snapchat is to communicate with their friends and family. And that's highly differentiated to other platforms and something that remains very core to Snap. And more than any other social network, if you ask, which social platform do you go to connect with close friends, you'll see that Snap truly leads the pack as the go-to platform for connecting with close friends and family. And it's interesting, if you don't have to do it now, but maybe after, if you Google friendship recession, you'll see just how real that is and how staggering the results are, very much magnified, of course, by what's transpired over the last few years. And this reinforces the need for us to form and cultivate real relationships. And it's because the desire to stay connected with close friends and family isn't something that ebbs and flows with trends or hype, because it's constant. It's part of human nature. It's who we are as humans. And I think that is what is such a massive driver behind our audience growth. And Snap is on the path to 1 billion users, which is quite remarkable for us as a company. Currently get 750 million monthly active users. 90% of 13 to 24-year-olds are on Snap. It is the go-to app for Gen Z. It is one of the first apps you download when you get that first phone. I know that's a big moment for many of us that have kids, know that. And Snapchat also drives retention with 75% of 13 to 34-year-olds on the platform. So in other words, those who first downloaded the app when they were younger, they've matured and grown up with the platform. And this massive audience is unique and very much unduplicated. So as you see here, nearly half of daily Snapchatters 18 plus don't use TikTok every day. And when you go further down, over 80% don't use Pinterest daily. But it isn't simply about the size and number of Snapchatters. What's also quite tremendous is the frequency and usage as well. So just for context, the average Snapchatter opens the app 40 times a day. And just to give you further idea, there's more than 5 billion snaps sent on average every single day on Snap. And that gives you as brands a real opportunity to engage and talk to your customers in a very consistent daily manner. And if you don't mind jumping just to the next slide, I think this is more of a myth bust, and I think it's a common misconception that I think is well worth clarifying, especially as you get up to speed on Snap as a platform. But over half of our audience is over 25. So again, Snapchatters have very much aged and matured with the platform, and they're now a bit older with even greater purchasing power. And real relationships create an environment of trust, an environment of sharing, and certainly one with a happier mindset. And if you go to the next slide, Lauren, this might seem like an interesting or funny stat, but we've indeed come to find that Snapchatters are genuinely happy when using the app, more than 9 out of 10. And when you compare that to other platforms. And when you think about mental health today, the state of the world, et cetera, this is exceptionally important and a huge catalyst to the audience growth that we were just speaking to. And this happy mindset very much has a halo effect for brands and naturally extends into the ad experience on Snap. So Snapchatters are more likely to trust what they see, pay attention to what they see, engage, recommend products, and of course, buy. And that feeling of happiness and trust on the platform drives real results. And you'll see here, if you jump forward, Snapchatters engage with brand content just like they engage with friend content. And in that happy environment focused around real relationships, we find that to be very much true. So we looked at how engagement changes on the platform, particularly within the Stories tab, when Snapchatters view content from a close circle of friends versus content from a broad circle, including ads. And we found that Snapchatters who move from close circle content to broad circle content, engagement either stayed the same or even increased by 2% as compared to other platforms where we saw a pretty significant decrease nearing 20%. And back to this idea of real results, Snapchatters are more likely to act on branded content as well. If you don't mind jumping forward, they are more likely to recommend brands, as you see, and more likely to purchase products. So this environment of real relationships, right, it truly drives results and it fosters an environment of true happiness and sharing, which really, really matters significantly for brands. And then if you just move forward, what I thought would be helpful, especially, I think this would be more than helpful now knowing what the key prerogatives so many of the attendees here today are. But before going deeper, I want to just give an overview of Snap today and the app itself, just to bring a little more familiarity to what we'll chat through. So if you look on the left, this is our Snap map. This is where 350 million Snapchatters come every single month to find their friends, find places. It's the most engaging map on the planet. And then, of course, if you move over to the right, there's chat, where 383 million Snapchatters come, and where the AI tool that we built, which is one of the largest AI chatbots on the planet today, happens when you chat with your friends. And then, of course, in the camera, where you come to engage with the world and the friends around you, and where AR, of course, truly comes to life. And where AR is quite utilitarian on Snap. So 250 million Snapchatters use AR every single day, and shopping is the #1 reason consumers are using AR. And we'll talk a bit more about that soon. And then, of course, within the Stories tab, where you can follow your friends' stories, premium publisher content, and of course, where creators come to life to post their stories as well. And then the fastest growing tab, which I hope you've heard quite a bit about on Snap, is Spotlight, where we've just recently announced 400 million monthly active users on Spotlight alone. It's where the best of the best content on Snap lives. We've seen a tripling in year-over-year growth. And it's again, the fastest growing tab. So, and certainly a place where the creator community thrives. So hopefully this provides just a little bit of context about Snap. And let me just pass it over to Lauren to tap into a little bit about social strategy.
Thank you. So now that you have kind of an overview of who's on Snapchat, where they're engaging on Snapchat, from here, I will take you through how it can fit into your paid social strategy. And then at the end, we're going to give you some very actionable tips for a successful activation. So first and foremost, taking a full funnel approach to Snapchat is often going to drive the best performance for most brands. Because of the way users engage with Snapchat, it's really important to make sure your brand is showing up across the platform in all of those tabs that Nadav talked about. And one of the major benefits of Snap is that we're able to reach a large audience that is mostly unduplicated across the other platforms, meaning that you have a significant potential to drive incrementality for your brand, whether that's a lift in brand awareness or a conversion lift, really depending on your ultimate goal. And then when you combine that with the unique AR integration and increasing direct response capabilities, which we're going to talk about in a little bit, there's a high performing solution for every part of the customer journey here. The key is really identifying the right ad types, plural, and targeting to reach your audience where they're engaging on the platform. So we will take a closer look at the different ad formats and where they show up. So Nadav talked about this a little bit, but it's important to remember when you're building your strategy that Snapchat is the only social platform that opens directly to the camera. So if you're not taking advantage of AR lenses, you really are missing out on a critical opportunity to really immerse a customer in your brand in a way that drives both awareness, like in the case of this Barbie example, which who is not a little Barbie crazy right now? And then also with conversions, like we see in this Sunglass Hut filter. So we're going to dive into those specifics a little bit and connecting AR filters with your catalog in just a few slides. But from here, we can take a look at the types of ads that are available within content. Sorry, if you go back one more slide. A little ahead of me. So from there, we've got the ad types that show up within content as someone is tapping through their friends' stories. They're seeing Snap ads they're seeing collection ads, they're seeing story ads, and those are also showing up in that broad circle content that Nadav mentioned as well, the produced shows and things like that. And then one of the unique high impact ops to consider for a strategy is this commercial placement all the way to the side there. These are really great at driving awareness and increasing brand recall, and perfect for some of that really polished brand creative you might have. You can repurpose creative from CTV or YouTube activations. This would be a really great place for that kind of stuff to live on Snapchat. So now going to the next slide, one of the most common challenges that I hear from clients is that Snapchat doesn't drive strong conversions. And Nadav and I are here to tell you that with the right strategy, that's just not really the case anymore. Snapchat has considerably expanded their e-commerce experience over the last few years. And between the immersive nature of the platform with that very positive environment that exists there, plus a full screen experience that you don't really get on every other platform, you're able to own 100% of the screen, 100% of the time with your message and your CTAs.
And just to expound as well, Lauren, and I know you're about to go through this, but this is something that for us, it's an area we very much tripled down in across, especially over the last year during this disruptive time from a macroeconomic perspective. We've invested a lot into the building out of our performance business, bringing on world-class leadership, as you likely have seen. And then for what we'll talk to in a bit, but also just putting a lot into product around enhancements to formats, optimizations, first and third party measurement, MMP integration, et cetera, et cetera. So Snapchat is truly a destination for that full funnel approach, especially, or even if you have more of those mid to lower funnel objectives. Absolutely.
Perfect. So going into the next slide, we've definitely mentioned the immersive nature of Snapchat several times. And as a media planner, when I look to the future, it's really only becoming more clear that rising generations, the ones that are gaining more and more buying power, are going to be using the AR experience as a way to shop. They're at this point growing up with it. They're digital natives, and even, millennials and older millennials are very, very used to this kind of engagement with the world. So understanding and leveraging this as an ad format is something that will keep your brand ahead of your competition. The stat here on the right is one of my favorites that speaks to how the AR try-on lens can lead to incremental sales. Specifically, when an apparel lens is used, that Snapchatter is 47% more likely to purchase a product. This really shows how something that is typically seen as top of funnel for awareness, something that's really fun and quirky or used for tentpole moments a lot of times, it can really measurably drive down funnel action. So it's a great thing to include in your full funnel approach. Even going so far as to say an always on lens approach, switching it up for seasons, things like that is a really great strategic consideration here.
Yeah, and I think. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Lauren.
So yes, in fact, AR drives 5 times more attentive seconds than other social platforms, meaning users are engaged with your brand for longer. If you'll flip to the next slide. And I know that when I say AR, when I bring it up, some clients will get intimidated. They're not sure how to create a lens or how to turn their very real products into a digital experience. But luckily, as a pioneer in the AR world for social media, Snap really has us covered. Every brand is able to find an AR solution that matches your product and your budget. And like the instant filter, for example, very fast turnaround. And then when we partner with Snapchat for clients, we also have access to a lot of Snap's in-house creative for these kinds of executions that can really benefit your brand. And if you've never tried an AR filter, which I'd be really surprised if anyone here hasn't, you know how fun they can be. I'm definitely 100% guilty of sitting on the couch with my phone open, not watching the TV show that's on in front of me, but just like scrolling Snapchat filters and playing with them, not always sending them to people, but really just engaging with them. And let's be honest, it's just fun. It's funny. And now you have to imagine putting your brand in that incredibly positive environment with that kind of very, very attentive, engaged audience. That kind of interaction is not only going to drive strong awareness and recall, but if you're connecting your filter to your catalog, like we saw in that Sunglass Hut example, like you see in this Nike example here, it's really going to start driving conversions for you too. So to show AR in action, we have a quick case study from Liquid IV. What happened in this case is they wanted to scale their e-commerce success and drive brand growth. They also wanted to bring a more immersive experience to their customers. So Snapchat was really a perfect fit. AR was the exact solution that we needed. And we deployed this in 2 phases. We used a lens that had very specific audience targeting for the first half of the campaign. This type of audience targeting allowed us to reach an engaged audience for a very efficient cost. And then in phase 2, we deployed a broad distribution lens, primarily around National Hydration Day, which again had very efficient costs, but it also drove a 73% incremental reach and resulted in a 20 times purchase intent. So overall, really strong results showing how AR can drive those dollars that everybody's looking for.
Yeah, and Lauren, a lot of what you just said. Snap, when you think about 250 million users using AR every single day on the platform, what used to be, to your point, this fun, splashy, like infrequent interaction has very much become utility on the platform, and it's something that everyone is essentially engaging with every day on Snap. And just to give an idea, about 6 billion lenses are played every single day on average. And I think what AR essentially allows you to do as a brand that is so unique is it takes this looks good to this looks good on me, right? And it brings that personalization element, which of course drives higher conversions for bottom lines to your business when you think about reduction in returns, right? Higher confidence in purchasing. So it solves true business outcomes. And to this, even to this example, the 2 things that I think really come to mind is, one, AR is such a high quality impression. I know we were talking about attention earlier and the 5X metric. But if you think about it, it's voluntary time spent, literally on your body or your face, right? And it's this very unique interaction with your brand that you can't really get anywhere else. It's truly immersive in that way. And the other way, to your point of just sitting around and playing with the lenses, you create your own story with the brand, almost in a creator-like fashion where you're the creator. And it's very, very powerful and very effective. And that's why it really amplifies the other formats as well and brings that brand resonance to ultimately lead to purchase over time.
Okay. I know that Nadav and I could talk about AR for basically this entire webinar, but how does all of this come together to build your strategy? The key, and if you take one thing away from this webinar, let it be this, it's that you have to leverage more than one ad format. Pairing your AR lenses and your commercial with Snap ads showing up in between friends content and collection ads driving straight to your order pages is going to result in a much higher conversion lift. On average, we see about a 2.3 higher conversion lift. And then when users see your ads in multiple places in the app, knowing that they open the Snapchat app 40 times a day is going to make them twice as likely to purchase from you. So with that foundation for where Snapchat can fit into your media mix and how you can drive those actions across the funnel, we're going to look at some very actionable pieces of information to help make that first activation on Snapchat a success. Once you plan to activate on Snap, you know who's on the platform, you've determined that it's a fit for your brand, and you know that you want to leverage a full funnel approach with multiple ad formats. I would almost always recommend a 4-week or ideally longer test flight if you can, especially if you're wanting to measure upper funnel tactics against lower funnel actions. There's going to be some conversion lag time there to account for. So you want to make sure you're giving your Snap campaigns enough time to grow and be successful. From there, determining your budget is really going to depend on your brand product. But you have to be realistic about the investment required for your brand to be successful on a net new platform. We have here listed about a $50,000 budget for a 4-week flight. It's a good benchmark. It is not the end all and be all, though. I would really encourage you to look at what your average CPA is on other platforms to help guide you here. But the rule of thumb is that your daily budget needs to be able to drive enough daily conversions to allow the algorithm to learn and to optimize. If you front load your campaign, if you front load that budget, it's always a great way to help expedite that learning phase and make sure that for your full flight, your costs are as efficient as possible. But you do always have to go through that learning phase. And of course, you need to understand what your objective is and how you're going to optimize for success based on your KPIs and ad product mix. On the next slide here, it's very detailed, and I'm not going to spend too much time going through all of it, but it does give you a good look at some things to consider or take into account when establishing your KPIs, your targeting, and your measurement based on your objectives and where your campaign is falling in the funnel. So if you're making purely an awareness play, those ads, you wouldn't want to measure their success on a conversion KPI. So just making sure that your full team is on the same page for how to measure the success of each of your campaigns and where these ads are activating. So this brings me to one of my favorite case studies. It's one of the newest ones that we have, but because of Tinuity's partnership with Snap, we had access to an early beta for their new 7-0 optimization window. So 7-0 optimization window is a 7-day click, 0-day view optimization. Historically, Snap has defaulted to a 28-day click attribution window, which is great. But when so many of us are looking at Google Analytics and fighting signal loss, everybody knows the infamous iOS 14 update, being able to optimize to a shorter window can make a huge difference in those last click conversions being attributed to platforms like Snapchat and giving a better picture of what the platform is doing for your brand. So when we tested this for one of our retail partners, we saw 100% stronger ROAS in platform, which is amazing all on its own. But this client also leverages a third-party reporting tool, which we all know can show very different numbers than what we see in platform. But even from that third-party tool, we showed a 250% stronger ROAS when using the 7-0 optimization compared to the default campaign setup, and a 51% more efficient CPA. So when you're going for those down funnel actions, having that shorter optimization window is going to be a huge benefit to you. Whereas if you're looking at an awareness or a consideration tactic, a longer optimization window may be a good choice for you there as well. So on this next slide, we're going to shift a little bit into a creative discussion. So, and as with almost any social platform, having an organic presence on Snapchat can definitely help drive higher user intent on your paid ads. Having that consistent experience of your brand is going to get a user that much closer to taking those high value actions. And your organic efforts are a low cost way to test out creative. We've all seen brands put out some down and dirty, quick turn creative, and it can definitely work, but you don't always want to sink an entire campaign budget on something that's untested. So you can use your organic presence as a way to find creative that your engaged audience, your followers, resonate with, and then scale that creative into your paid ads and already know that it's going to probably be a little bit more successful than something brand new. So it's definitely beneficial to have that organic presence. I will caveat this with, if you don't engage regularly organically, you're not really able to use that as a test for creative. You have to have a consistent presence to be able to pull those insights and leverage them in your paid strategy, but it is very valuable. And then on the next slide, we have kind of a creative scorecard here. The type and the style of creative for Snap is ultimately very critical to your success. There's a lot of similarities between Snap Creative and Creative for other platforms, but there are definitely some unique aspects as well. And this scorecard is a good way to evaluate what you already have and see if it can be used and repurposed to test out on Snapchat. And then,
all right, and yeah, and just to build on much of what Lauren just called out, I think this is a great example of an advertiser, CeraVe, who activates a multi-product, full funnel strategy, combining awareness activations around tentpole seasonal moments with always-on consideration and conversion media, just to move Snapchatters down the funnel while driving, consistent, constant product relevance on Snap throughout the year. So to the left, you'll see from their awareness objective, CeraVe activated consistent product launches around these seasonal moments. The first being Acne Awareness Month. So they had a lens and a Snap ad that drove to sweepstakes. To the right there, for winter skin relief, they took First Lens on the first day of winter. For those unfamiliar, First Lens is the takeover, or rather the First Lens takeover it's the first lens that you'll see when you open up the lens carousel to the camera. So driving mass awareness. And then if you move over to the right, more toward the consideration phase, they were activating always on media via a lead gen tactic, retargeting users exposed to the awareness building launch moments and inviting them to sign up to claim their free samples. And then lastly, back to when we speak to the full funnel approach, in the lower funnel, they round out strategy with an always-on e-com asset here to drive conversion around buy one, get one. And to Lauren's point, across multiple surfaces across Snap, right? So this would be appearing everywhere from the lens to stories to spotlight, depending. So just a good example of an advertiser like CeraVe adopting a full funnel strategy across Snapchat to drive real results. All right, so then I think if we jump into just some key takeaways, and hopefully this was very educational and beneficial. Just to recap, and a few big things to take away. So when you think about Snap, it's real relationships, which is truly quite a differentiator for Snap. And real relationships drive real influence, which in turn drive real results. So to start, the audience across Snap continues to thrive and grow on the path to 1 billion users, currently at 750 million MAU, and 90% of 13 to 24 on Snap and 75% of 13 to 34. Secondly, the need to reach that can't be reached in other places, right? When you think about unduplicated reach, some of the graphics that we were looking through, so nearly 50% of Snapchatters who are using Snap every day are not using TikTok every day. And that goes up to 80% when you think about Pinterest. And they're uniquely found on Snapchat. Also, 75% of Snapchatters say, again, the number one reason people come to Snapchat is to connect with their friends and family. And we saw that the results that drives in the environment of trust and sharing that manifests. And then the need for a receptive environment to tell your brand story. Again, that happy environment very much has a halo effect for brands and permeates across the ad experience on Snap. And the need for diversity of ways to engage with customers. So it's not just full funnel solutions, but full screen, incredibly unique, immersive ad formats everywhere from AR to catalog, et cetera, right? And these lower funnel, more like 7.0 type optimization initiatives and tactics. and the need for proven results. And I think we walked through a lot of that today that we've fortunately seen. But Snap delivers 3.6 times more attentive seconds than any other ad format or platform. And when we think about layering AR into the mix, right? AR specifically goes well beyond that at 5x. So I hope that these are helpful key takeaways. And I think this, the idea of real relationships driving real influence and driving real results is certainly something to take with you as you think about Snap, and cannot wait to work more closely with you all.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much. I feel like I definitely learned a lot today. Hope that our audience did. Really valuable insights. So before we get started our Q&A, just make sure to join in via the poll tab and let us know if you would like to follow up with our social media experts after the session today. That poll is live in the top right-hand corner of the screen if you toggle from chat to polls. And before we jump into Q&A, I would also love to call attention to these QR codes here. So those will take you to our speakers' LinkedIn pages if there's any follow-up questions you had after the session ends today. So let's see what questions we have. All right, we have a question from Todd. So I won't read every part of this, but are there plans for like growing Snap's youth market? If Snap would be able to enable parents as an admin to minor accounts, so they would be able to disable certain elements of the app. He's talking about a lot of those like beautifying filters. Are there any plans for Snap to enable something where parents could have more control over this?
Yeah, it's a great question, Todd. And the short answer is absolutely yes. So we have something in place currently today called Family Center, which I highly recommend checking out. It allows you to see who your kids are speaking to and communicating with on the app. And it also allows you to moderate what type of content they're exposed to as well. And privacy by design lives within the fabric of what defines Snap. So we're continuing to innovate and evolve more and more on what we do with just making sure that both parents and children are fully safe on the platform.
Great to know that y'all already have something for that. We have a question from Lauren. She is asking, what do those costs look like for getting AR up and running for a brand?
I can speak a little bit to this. So the cost for an AR is really going to depend on how complex it is, and what kind of experience you're looking to achieve. There's really a solution at almost every budget price point, though. So I would definitely recommend chatting with one of us and getting some more specifics on kind of what you're trying to achieve. I know that's not a very like direct answer, but it really just does depend on so many variables. So it's hard to give like a hard number here.
Yeah, and just to expound on that, it does fully depend on what type of execution, right? You can go everything from what we were talking about, like a first lens national takeover, all the way to more of like an always on, day-to-day, lightweight, interactive experience. What I will say is that we've also done a fortune of work around the tooling to make activating and creating AR experiences super seamless and easy. So I highly recommend checking out Lens Studio, which allows you to just create these lenses now directly in Ads Manager. And of course, you can get a lot more sophisticated with tools around like Lens Web Builder. We have a specific creator, Collab Studio, which helps with creators creating lenses. But I would say that the tools are also very much there where it doesn't need to be something too intensive and complex. You can create a lens in under 10 minutes and send it out across Snap.
Awesome. Thank you for answering that. Another question. So we know that Snap is one of our leaders in innovation. What are some of the more recent and exciting announcements?
No, I think that's a great question. I'll call out two that come to mind. The first is around Aries, which is our AR enterprise solutions. And the second is around My AI. So just starting with Aries, Aries is essentially allowing brands to take Snap's tech and essentially bring AR try-on to their apps and websites and essentially digitally transform the entire experience. And again, this has such an impact on bottom line, and one, just not only driving higher conversion just from a media perspective, but then of course true business outcomes offline as well. When you think about reduction in returns or sustainability goals that your brand may have. So Aries is a really, really interesting opportunity. And we've seen everywhere from small to large brands, or some of the largest, take on Snap's camera kit or shopping suite technology. So highly recommend looking into it. And it's very, very exciting and completely transforms the conversation off of Snap as well. And of course helps you turn a bunch of the assets that you have on your app into AR, which allows you to then run it very easily on Snap too. And the second is around My AI. So I know this is a frontier we all talk about quite often, but just to give you an idea, and I know we mentioned it briefly, but My AI, which is the chatbot that lives within the chat messenger tab within Snap, has already in just 2.5 months, 150 million people using My AI, and they've sent over 10 billion messages. So just to give you an idea of the opportunity and scale. And I think what's really exciting about My AI, specifically within Snap, is yes, it has become one of the largest chatbots already in the world, but it's more around, one, the insights that we can derive from those types of conversations around just informing content or potentially even ads, which we're testing with currently and piloting. And then of course, bringing, for example, if you're talking about travel content, can that content then extend to what you are seeing on the app? And then of course the ads that come from that. And the second is just, it's a very organic experience, My AI, across Snap, because you're already chatting, you're already messaging, you're already conversing. So it's just, again, it's very natural to talk within the My AI chatbot. And we've seen the utility of it already as just a great tool for creativity, which is really, really exciting. And we recently released the blog, if you'd like to see, with just some of the insights that we've seen around beauty or autos or what have you, and just really, really interesting conversation already transpiring.
Awesome. Love hearing about those opportunities and new initiatives. I think we have time for maybe just one more question. So I'd love if y'all could talk a little bit more about the measurement metrics and analytical tools that are available for advertisers to assess performance and effectiveness.
So I think Lauren had a slide on this. If we wanted to see, we could definitely follow up, just in the interest of time, with the list of like measurement partners. I think the net to that question is across all objectives and across the entire funnel. You could run essentially just about any type of measurement metric with almost any partner across Snap. And what I would just call out to that question, the implementation of Conversion API is also exceptionally important for those who are more performance driven. And we have a very lightweight, off-the-shelf solution. Just back to this idea of everything that we've been working through with signal loss over the last few years. CAPI, which you might be implementing on some other platforms, is easily integrated across Snap and certainly helps boost so much of those learnings and matching and signals that are necessary to then build even more comprehensive and successful campaigns.
Awesome. Great questions from our audience, and really appreciate our speakers for taking the time to thoughtfully answer those. So before we wrap up for the day, I do want to call attention to this recently released report from Tinuiti, our digital ads benchmark report. So let me go ahead and launch that, and you can click this link that I just launched in the bottom left of your screen in order to access the report in full. So a lot of great insights in there, and I encourage everyone to take a look if you get a chance. And thank you once again to our speakers for this comprehensive guide to Snapchat. To our attendees, we hope you found the discussion as valuable as we did, and thank you so much for tuning in. So once we close out our discussion today, we'll be redirected to our feedback form. Sorry, just trying to get some of that feedback. You'll be redirected to our feedback form, so please let us know what you thought of the webinar today and then what you would like to see for some of our webinars in the future. Thank you all. Hope everyone has a great afternoon.
Thanks all.